Get ready for success. Leadership Strategies for Women is a show dedicated to providing practical and valuable strategies for emerging women leaders of today. It's your time to get inspired, motivated, and challenged to achieve your vision for success. And now, here's leadership speaker and coach, Ellie Nieves.
Hello and welcome to our program. My name is Ellie Nieves and I'm a women's leadership speaker, writer, and coach. I'm also the founder and president of Leadership Strategies for Women. Through my speaking and coaching programs, I help individuals and organizations to develop leadership skills, set strategic goals, and to help them achieve their vision for success. For more information, you can visit my website at www.leadershipstrategiesforwomen.com. The title of our program today is 10 Commandments for Women in the Workplace. Our guest is Dondi Scumaci. Dondi Scumaci is an international speaker, author, and expert in professional and personal development. Known for high-energy seminars that produce dramatic results, Scumaci's workshops are designed to deliver solid, actionable disciplines for employees and executives alike. Her best-selling book, Designed for Success, The 10 Commandments for Women in the Workplace, empowers women to be more effective, successful, and satisfied at work. Scumaci's signature 10 Commandments, designed to mentor women, are a result of a seasoned business career spanning more than 20 years, including tenure as director for 2 top U.S. financial institutions. In 1995, she founded an advising firm where she currently serves as president. There, she and her team consult with organizations to develop employees and leadership, as well as overall company culture, through public and private seminars, keynotes, and management retreats. Dondi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Such a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's wonderful to have you on. Dondi, as we kick off our program, can you share a little bit about your background?
Certainly. You know, I get asked the question a lot, how did you end up being a speaker and an author? And, you know, I think it sort of was, you know, this slow unfolding of maybe the call on my life, or the, you know, finally stepping into my true strengths and attributes. But I was a banker. I grew up in a bank. I actually started at the beginning. I don't like saying starting at the bottom. I started at the beginning and worked my way through that, and really fell in love with developing people and mentoring and that kind of a thing, and ended up as a director of the sales and service strategies for that organization in another large institution in the United States. And from there, it seemed like, you know, the more my career progressed, the further away I was from the things I truly loved to do, and that was developing people. Mm-hmm. And I made the decision to become a consultant, and that's code for unemployed. You know, I left the corporate world and just really kind of took that big, gigantic, scary leap, and here I am.
Which is one of those dreams that a lot of women have these days. So congratulations on not only having the dream, but also pursuing it.
You know, I think it wasn't heroic. Let me tell you, it became so painful. I mean, my experience was that, you know, to live outside of what I was in love with and what I was really called to do was actually painful, mm-hmm. and so beyond unfulfilling, beyond boring, was painful. Mm-hmm. So really, that leap was, you know, it was really to reach for something greater, but it was also to stop hurting, because I mm-hmm. really was in a lot of pain, out of my element, like a fish on the bank. You know, I just couldn't breathe anymore.
Well, that's a great question. That's a great segue to our next question, which is, what drives you to succeed?
You know, the motivating factors. And I'm certainly motivated. I guess the true motivator is when you're moved, when you get a result or when you achieve something and it moves you. And if I were to describe that for me, it's when I know I've kept the appointment. And by that I mean I could have 10,000 people in an audience and have a really good time with that group. At the end of that leaving, find there's this one woman standing at the back of the banquet hall and waiting patiently for everybody to go, and to say, you know what, this is exactly what I needed when I needed it, and I am so glad that I came. In that moment, it's bigger than a paycheck for me, because I feel like I kept the appointments, right. And if we keep those appointments, then we'll be trusted with even bigger appointments.
Wow, that's great. So as you've progressed in your career, Have things always gone according to plan?
No, that's a big not. Things have not always gone according to plan, and I think sometimes we get in our own way. Maybe I should back up. Maybe they did go according to plan, but the plan wasn't big enough. I sometimes have a sense that I kind of come to the well of opportunity with this teacup, and I need to be bringing a bucket. So maybe they do go according to the plan that you have in your head that's outlined by the beliefs that you've allowed to kind of settle down in there, the paths that you've taken, and what you believe you deserve, what you believe you're capable of or not, what you believe you're worthy of or not. So maybe yes, maybe ultimately, if the question means, have I ever been surprised? Yeah. Have I ever been disappointed? Absolutely. But did it go according to plan? Probably it did. If the plan needed to be bigger, if the plan needed to be more compelling and more exciting. Right.
So, Dondi, you're a woman of faith. What role has faith played in your career success?
Everything. Sometimes I come back to a story that I have told more than once. Gets into what is the greatest challenge and what role did your faith play. First of all, I don't think that faith is something that you can put on and take off like a suit. I think that it's part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's not something that you wear or carry with you. It's inside of you. So it's absolutely ridiculous to me to even imagine not bringing my faith with me. The faith part of my job is the core of it, which means that I can't do anything aside from God, and I can do everything with His help if I will step into His plan and the flow of what He's trying to do and keep those divine appointments. I think the biggest, scariest moment for me ever on stage was when I I have this little ritual before I speak. I always go back at the stage and I'll pray and please give me the words and please give me the insights and let me deliver the message that will really make a difference here and have a huge impact on every single person here. And I was saying my little prayer and let me be anointed tonight or something like that. And I'm not kidding you, it was almost audible in my ear. It was, the anointing, that insight, that empowerment isn't something I lay on you. It's something that rubs off of me when you're with me. You haven't been spending a whole lot of time with me, so why don't you just take this one on your own? And I got to tell you something. It was scary for me to step out on that stage. The performance was flat. It was, maybe other people didn't notice, but I certainly did, and I vowed at that moment I will never again perform, even to an audience of one, without really bringing my trust in God. But that was a hard lesson for me when I knew that I could not trust my own capabilities, but I had not fully developed the ability to trust God completely. That's a big gap. There's a big hole there between kind of knowing that you can't trust your own strengths and you haven't learned how to trust His. Right. And so that was a big reach for me when I found that felt like a chasm in my life until I finally figured it out.
Wow. So what have been some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in achieving your goals?
Oh, some of the obstacles would be, growth pains. As my company grew, how to manage your resources are tapped, but you're trying to reach for more, and you're kind of in that strange place of, reaching beyond what you are now. I think another obstacle would be sort of the idea that I don't have to do everything, learning that I don't have to be everything and do everything and wear all of those hats. I remember when I first started speaking, I was so grateful just to speak that I'd talk about anything. I mean, if you said, can you talk about time management? Sure. Can you talk about project management? Sure. And I would just become this, student of whatever the discipline was. Right. And I realized finally, you're trying to be all things, which means that you're really not carving out or creating creating a strong brand. And that probably was the biggest obstacles, was figuring out what really is my brand, what is my niche, and what am I committed to. And when I landed on being a champion for mentoring, and specifically for women, then I could just throw my strengths at that specific area and really start to become a thought leader, an expert in those areas. And so it was kind of deciding who I was one of the hardest things. And then being true to that, being disciplined, not being tempted too much. It's a good speaking engagement, so I guess I could learn. No, that's not what I do. That's not who I am. So really being very clear on who I am, what I do, and where there's only so much strength in the day. So what am I going to throw my strength after?
That's wonderful. And Dondi, in your best-selling book, Designed for Success, you outline 10 commandments for women in the workplace. Can you walk us through those 10 commandments?
Yes. Designed for Success was the first book, and some of your listeners might have seen it. It's got the big stiletto on. I still laugh because sometimes I'm asked, "Do you wear those shoes?" And I don't. A few times on TV, I've carried those shoes out to the studio, sat down in the chair, put them on for the show, then take them off and walk barefoot out of there. So no, those aren't the shoes that I normally wear, but it's a great cover. The 10 Commandments was really born out of looking at what are the challenges that women face in the workplace. What are the things that are the unique issues, situations, barriers, obstacles that women run into, and I try to create this path that would almost be kind of a mentoring handbook. And she sold out in her first 30 days, and she's still going strong. Published in 2007, but she's still doing really, really well. So Designed for Success has turned into what they call an evergreen book. It's considered timeless. It's not dated material. The 10 Commandments work now just as much as they worked 3 years ago when the book was published. But the first commandment, is managing your message from the inside out, and that really speaks to that. What do you believe? What are the beliefs that are running around in your head? How are you communicating to yourself? Because what you say to yourself becomes what you say about yourself, and that becomes how you present yourself and how other people see you. So it really has this almost self-fulfilling effect. I like to say that there's a prophet living in each one of us, predicting the future, and that prophet will be true. So it's really doing the hard work of understanding what are those messages that are bouncing around in your brain, and how are those really impacting you, and do you have empowering beliefs, or do you have limiting beliefs, and doing the work to figure out some of the things that we believe are really powerful, and they equip us, but some of the things that we believe will hold us back. And so listening to those messages and being very aware of them. So the first one is managing your messages. The second commandment is really empowering yourself. It's what are we waiting for? Sometimes we wait. We're waiting for the recognition, or we're waiting for permission. One of the stories that I tell in Design for Success that was really a great example of this is there was a dynamic young supervisor that worked in a call center environment. And almost every day they would get protocol changes or procedural changes, and one of their main functions was to implement these changes with every operator on the floor. And one of these protocol changes came through, and she's looking at this and she's thinking, there's an error here. If we do this, it could actually shut us down. And she went to her colleagues and said, I'm concerned about these procedures. I mean, this could really create havoc here. And they all kind of, poo-pooed, oh, I'm sure they thought of that, and it's going to be okay. So she trusted them instead of her own instincts, and went ahead and implemented the procedure, and it did shut that call center down.
Wow.
It created havoc for their customers. It was very expensive. And when I said to her, why didn't you go to your boss or to your, why didn't you keep, carrying that flag of concern? Why did you just kind of accept? And she said, I didn't want to be a complainer. I didn't want to look negative, and I didn't know how to communicate that. So the whole, empowering yourself with options, empowering yourself with information, empowering yourself with optimism, but really equipping yourself for a successful journey, and not trusting other people more than you trust yourself and assuming, well, they must know better. So empowering yourself really kind of gives you some exercises to think about, where am I giving my power away? How am I giving my power away, and how do I take that power back? The third commandment is awareness, and that really speaks to emotional intelligence. I mean, the more you are aware of yourself, your reactions, your responses, your needs, and the more aware you are of other people, the higher your emotional intelligence goes. So I can be aware of myself, I can be aware of you, what you need, what you're looking for, what you care about, what's important to you. I can be aware of the situation. Situational awareness is very powerful. You know, the situation that I'm in, are there some undercurrents that I need to be paying attention to? The political savvy, so to speak, but awareness is equipping yourself with awareness so that you really are grounded and centered, and you're responding effectively, even in difficult situations. And then commandment number 4 is about negotiation, and I love that chapter because women, there was some research that was done that talks about the fact that, when men hear the word negotiate, they say something like they think of challenge and contest and winning, and women think of root canal and conflict and fighting. And women really do grow up with the messages: no fighting, no conflict. It's not. Don't be bossy. Don't fight. Get along. It's important for people to like you. So negotiation can really be a terrible thing for them. And so this chapter talks about kind of reframing what a negotiation is, and it gives you some steps to practice and teaches you how to become a better negotiator. Commandment number 5 is leading from right where you are, your current position. It talks about personal leadership and how do you demonstrate extreme initiative and really step out and create that brand for yourself and that niche for yourself that is powerful and compelling. Commandment number 6 I also love a lot. It's building a bridge to the future, having a plan, a career plan. How do you reach from where you are? It's a gap analysis of sorts. Here I am, and I want to go there. So how do I bridge that gap with actions, with relevant, impactful actions that will take me from here to there? I do believe this. When I'm mentoring women, the most successful women that I know have at least a 5-year career plan in place. They really do have a very clear picture, a vision of where they're trying to go, and it doesn't mean that those plans or those action items aren't adjusted along the way, but they have a crystal clear vision of where they're trying to go. And in fact, one senior executive said to me one time, and I really enjoyed talking with her. She said, the difference between me and other women who joined the organization at the same time that I did, and who aren't sitting at the executive table, who aren't part of the executive management team, she said the difference is I've always had a mentor, and I have always had a 5-year plan.
Wow.
And it's, she said, it's not that I'm prettier or funnier or, people like me more or that, I went to a better school or I have nicer suits. Right. She said it really isn't about that stuff. It's about the mentorship and it's about having a plan. So that's what commandment number 6 is really about, building that bridge to the future. How do I begin to carve that plan out? And commandment number 7 is thinking like a project manager. Project managers are amazing to me. They have this amazing, eclectic set of skills. Like, they have to manage the people and the details, and they have to manage the strategy, but they also have to manage the constraints, and they have to anticipate. They just have this very eclectic, technical, people, interpersonal skill set. The good ones, I should say, have that. And this commandment number 7 asks women, what if you started thinking more like a project manager? What if you started treating your tasks more like projects? What if you treated your career like a project? What would happen if you began to kind of adapt some of those disciplines and those best practices to the things that you're trying to accomplish? So commandment number 7 is think like a project manager. Number 8 in our march through the 10 is investing in others. Invest in the success of others, and that really is a mentoring story. It is about how are you how are you helping equip other people? How are you investing yourself into their success? And some very inspiring stories about that, and it really is a call to that mentoring action. And commandment number 9 talks about breaking through the barriers. And the barriers might be the politics in the workplace. And by the way, I think it's really funny when women say, well, I just don't do politics, because here's the thing, darling. There is a game, there is a board, you are on it. You're either playing badly or you're playing well, but you are playing. There is a game going on around you. Right. So not to be naive about that, of breaking through the barriers really speaks to what are the barriers in the workplace, like the politics or conflict. Women hate conflict, and so they tend to avoid it. And I'm a big believer that conflict that is avoided is incubated. So that is really the call to action. There is how do I begin to address those obstacles that are getting in my way? Things like the border problem at work. I really like that part of the book. It described in terms of the borders between divisions and departments, right? There is a border problem in most organizations. We kind of have our little silos built. So how do you reach across those boundaries and create strategic business partnerships? How do you broaden your perspective of the organization so you're not working in a tunnel vision, like you're working in context? And the book also gives 12 rules of engagement. I'll share a couple with you. Find your empathy. So it's really try to understand your partners, your business partners. What's going on with them? Go out of your way to understand their processes and how you impact them. Right. Another one of the 12 rules is to use positive communication. Talk about what you want. Ask for what you need. Talk about what things are instead of what things aren't, right? It's called inclusionary language. The idea of talking about what you want instead of what you don't want is really funny, because we do this to kids all the time. We say, don't get wet, don't get dirty, don't be late. Why not say stay clean, stay dry, be on time? I mean, we tend to put things in a negative perspective. And one other one would be, and I think it is timeless and powerful. One of the 12 engagement rules is use the right channel of communication. So if I'm having trouble with you, Ellie, then it means I need to probably have a conversation with you. That probably isn't a text, and it probably isn't an email. Right. If we're having an issue between us, then I have to pick up the phone or start my car or walk across the hallway. But I think sometimes we try to use the wrong channel of communication. One CEO said it to me this way, and I thought it was brilliant. We need to type less and talk more around here. So the 12 that's 3 of the 12 rules of engagement. And the final one is really a powerful one. I think it's adding value to everything that you do. And the book outlines 5 levels of value that you bring to an organization, but there are also 5 choices that you make every day. And the cumulative effect of those choices really kind of becomes your brand. An example of the lowest level is I can choose to be a commodity. I can come in, do my job, go home, do just what's expected of me. And there are a lot of commodities living and working out there. People who have become disappointed at their job, or they're bored with their work, they didn't get the raise that they wanted or the recognition that they wanted, or in some ways I think the workforce is feeling a little betrayed. Things were taken away. There's no more coffee. There's no more donuts in the sales meeting. And so there's a part of me that maybe even unconsciously or subconsciously kind of withdraws some of my value to even the score, But the model really says this. It shows the 5 levels of value that you can bring, and the theory to the model is that you totally control your opportunity by the amount of value that you inject into the operation. So we don't need job security, because our job security is really the value that we drive, and you're totally in charge of that. I've never known anyone who created opportunity by becoming less valuable. But I do see people all the time kind of with an attitude of, well, when I'm paid more, then I'll do more. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to be something first. So that last commandment is just really talking about how do I increase my value so that I create more opportunity for myself. And there is a rule. It's a law. I promise people in the book, I totally guarantee it. If you will focus on the value you drive, opportunity will take care of itself. You don't need to worry about opportunity. She's on the way.
Right.
if you'll just focus on the value. And it's brilliant because you control your value. And all of my books, there's a Ready, Set, Grow, and the last one was Career Moves. They all end with a blessing. So my hope is that as people read these and work through them, that they will really apply the exercises and maybe even use the tools in discussion and put them into practice. And each one of them ends with a personal blessing on every reader that kind of summarizes the powerful points of the book to say, I hope all of this is true for you. I hope that these things really have revealed something inside of you that will allow you to create more, have more, be more, do more. So Design for Success was my first work, and I'm very proud of her, and I hope that your listeners will give her a read.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Those are really powerful commandments. And you have your new book, which you mentioned, Career Moves. Can you share a little bit about the theme of Career Moves?
Oh, I love Career Moves. Career Moves combines. It's kind of a different format. It combines a story with characters. It's a mentoring story, women mentoring women, and it also it combines that with the how-to. So each chapter begins and ends with this story that unfolds, and people really are enjoying the story and kind of getting attached to the characters, and I think relating to the characters. Like some people say, I related to Zoe, who runs into a real career challenge and is, really hits a wall. I mean, she hits a wall going fast, and her mentor Elena, and people say I could relate to both of them. I could see myself in both of those characters. I think that the characters are believable, and the scenario is really relevant to women, and the book really walks you through how do I create that plan? How do I build a career plan for myself? What are the tools that I can use? What are some of the strategies? What are some of the things I should be thinking about so that I can really bust a move? And it also gives you 9 signs that you need to make a move. And by the way, it's not necessarily moving out of the job that you have. I mean, it might be moving inside of your position, right? So, how can you reinvent the job you have to get the one you want?
Right.
So it's not about applying for a new job necessarily, although some people do need to. They need to do something different. They're not being fulfilled. But it kind of gives you a chance to look at where am I in my career, and how am I crafting or designing a career? In my case, kind of getting back to some of your initial questions, I think as my career unfolded, I did a really good job of handling what came to me, but I didn't always have a plan. I was sort of reacting, and I was achieving, but I wasn't making something happen in my career. I was responding to something that was happening outside of me. So it was very reactive. And I think when I flipped that over and said, what do I want to be when I grow up, and what is the difference I want to make, and what do I love doing, and what is my true purpose and calling, then all the pieces started to fall into place. I think if you can connect who you are with what you do, you will be astonished by what you can accomplish.
Wow. And where do you find the inspiration for your books, Dondi?
From women, from the workshops I lead, and the stories that they tell, and the walls that they run into, and some of my own disappointments and failings, and frustrations and barriers, and also looking at the trends, watching, what the workforce is going through. I'm getting ready to start my 4th book now, and I'm watching a workforce that is betrayed, a workforce that feels betrayed and feels a little hopeless, and and yet there are people that are innovative and creative inside of this really dark time. They're very centered, and they're very, very focused, and they're responding differently to the marketplace than other people that are kind of being swept downstream. So, do I have that centering? Am I prepared? Am I equipped? Do I have what I need to weather the storm, should a storm come?
And where can our listeners find your books, Dondi?
They can find them in any of the big stores, Borders or Barnes & Noble. All of the Hastings. they can find them. They can also find them up on Amazon. I think the best prices I've seen are up on Amazon. They're all available to order there. People can go to my website, DondiScumaci.com, and look on the resources page, and they can see my books and some of my CDs that I have developed, and they can hit the tabs and go straight to the stores that sell those. And there's a blog up there and some free tools and some interactive stuff that goes on, so they're certainly welcome to join me on DondiScumaci.com, too.
That's great. Dondi, thank you so much for sharing the 10 Commandments and much more with our listeners. It's been very informative and very powerful and substantive. I'm sure that our listeners are going to be able to apply some of the lessons that you shared right away in the workplace.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to speak with you, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Dondi. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed the program, please go onto the Leadership Strategies for Women page on Facebook and drop me a note. Until next time, God bless.